This is my third update for the day, and there's just so much news, I can't keep up. But so I just got a breaking story that came to my phone, and that is that NATO is now ready for both Finland and Sweden to join the alliance. I did my first morning update, my update number 1 that I did, and I talked about how Finland, the president of Finland, said that the country doesn't even need a referendum to join NATO. They're ready to enter the alliance, and now we have the confirmation. I'm going to sit down here. We have the confirmation from NATO, the announcement from NATO that, well, they're ready for not only Finland, but Sweden as well. I think I even said in my morning video that if Finland decides to go the NATO route, so will Sweden. And, well, NATO has just opened their doors to both countries. So that was an interesting bit of news. Now let me get to the main topic. This is a big one. This is a big one. Let me open up my phone because I want to read from the Wall Street Journal. It has to do with the fact that the Wall Street Journal put out an article where it states that Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor, was in February, middle of February, I think February 19th. He was in discussion with Zelensky to let Zelensky to announce that Ukraine would be neutral. And if he got that announcement, that pledge that Ukraine was going to be neutral, then Olaf Scholz said Putin would be ready to sign off on that, and it would create this new European security architecture. So that's what Olaf Scholz claimed he was working on, and he approached Zelensky with this proposal, and Zelensky said no. He said no. Now remember, Zelensky did an interview with Zakaria of CNN, Fareed Zakaria. I think that's his name, right? He's like a neocon warmonger at CNN. Well, he did a video with him, an interview a while back, like maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where Zelensky said that NATO would tell him privately that Ukraine is never going to get into the alliance. But they told Zelensky publicly to keep on pushing for entry into NATO. So NATO was telling Zelensky, look, we're going to have two positions. Privately, between us, you're never getting in. But when you go around to your little cocktail dinners and you do your interviews to say, yeah, we're getting into NATO, all right. You know what this looks like? This is, and I'm going to read you exactly what the Wall Street Journal says. This war was going to happen. Russia was baited into it, and this was going to take place no matter what. This was going to take place no matter what. There was no way around it. That's how it's looking. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. I'm just going to read you what they say because it's quite an amazing interview, an amazing statement from the WSJ. So it says, the German Chancellor returned to Berlin for more worried than he had left it. Mr. Scholz made one last push for a settlement between Moscow and Kiev. He told Mr. Zelensky in Munich on February 19th that Ukraine should renounce its NATO aspirations and declare neutrality as part of a wider European security deal between the West and Russia. The pact would be signed by Mr. Putin and Mr. Biden, who would jointly guarantee Ukraine's security. Listen to that. Not only Putin would sign off on it, but Mr. Biden as well. And this would guarantee Ukraine's security. Mr. Zelensky said Mr. Putin couldn't be trusted to uphold such an agreement, and that most Ukrainians wanted to join NATO. His answer left German officials worried that the chances of peace were fading. Aides to Mr. Scholz believed Mr. Putin would maintain his military pressure on Ukraine's borders to strangle its economy and then eventually move to occupy the country. So this is coming from the WSJ. Believe it? I don't know. I kind of believe it. What do you guys think? Do you believe it? That Putin and Biden would sign off on this, on Ukraine's security, and this would be the new security architecture in Europe? Maybe, but what it points to me is the fact that Zelensky was speaking out of both sides of his mouth. This guy's a comedian. He is not a leader. He is not a president. He is a comedian. He's an actor. He's a puppet reading a script. And it seems like that script is being changed and amended all the time. And he is as confused as all of us are with regards to the run-up to this war. He was as confused as all of us are, or were, with regards to the run-up. He didn't know what was going on. He was just reading a script. NATO would tell him one day, you're getting into NATO. The next day they'd say, you're not. Scholz would say, sign this agreement for neutrality. Zelensky would say no. Then he'd come back later in another statement and say, I'm ready to sign, or I'm ready to negotiate. This is just pure confusion. Muddled, mixed up messages. This is what happens when you don't have a world leader. This is what happens when someone like Joe Biden is president, because you don't have that strong arm guiding the United States, guiding the international community, the Western alliance, guiding them towards a coherent policy, towards a policy that will ensure peace, that will try to find a compromise. This is what happens when you have a president of the United States that's not a negotiator. When you have a power vacuum like what you have with Biden, you leave it up to guys like Olaf Scholz, who seems like he's a nice guy, but let's face it, he's in way over his head trying to negotiate some sort of peace 5 days before the operation is going to kick off. You know, this is February 19th, it says. And you can't forget the fact that Zelensky was in Munich at that very same time period. Probably that's where he was speaking with Scholz, who knows, but he was in Munich running around and not only saying he's going to get into NATO, but saying that Ukraine was going to get a nuke, that Ukraine was ready to get nuclear weapons. And you had Kamala Harris and Ursula von der Leyen, two of the dumbest politicians in the history of the world, egging Zelensky on, telling Zelensky, yeah, you're going to get a nuke. Absolutely, Ukraine's going to have nukes. They were like egging Zelensky on. I'm not saying they were telling him that, but they weren't telling him to stop. They weren't saying, Zelensky, don't do it. Shut the hell up. So look, I think this was in the cards. The powers that be, the globalist forces that be, they wanted this conflict to happen. And Zelensky was just an actor playing his bit, as he is doing today. Today, he's just doing the same thing. He's playing his bit. He's playing his part. I don't know if everyone caught the interview with him on Fox News and Bret Baier. The full interview was not aired, actually. There are bits and pieces of that interview which were not aired, where Bret Baier asks him about Azov, and Zelensky was like, they are who they are, no big deal. And that portion was taken out of the interview, and it wasn't aired on Fox News. But you can find that on the internet. It was posted on live stream. Gonzalo Lira has that interview on his Telegram channel, so you can check it out there. There's a reason why Fox News didn't put in that line, that questioning about Azov from Bret Baier to Zelensky, because Zelensky was very flippant about it. He was very, maybe that wasn't in the script. Maybe that was a surprise question from Bret Baier to Zelensky. Who knows? But he's the puppet actor that is driving us to war, to Russophobia, to cancellation, hysteria. This is the guy, Zelensky, that is driving us to destruction, to annihilation, to poverty, to an economic war of attrition. A comedian in Ukraine. Anyway, that is the big story. That is the big story for all of us to think about. Check out the article on the Wall Street Journal. It's probably behind the paywall, but if you go to Twitter, I'm sure there's a lot of excerpts from it. The next story that I want to talk about is the fact that Victoria Nuland is making her way through Europe. She's going to be in France. She is going to be in Greece. She's going to be in Cyprus and then Turkey. And she's going to be speaking to leaders of France and Germany and the EU. And then she is going to come down to my neck of the woods and I imagine she's going to try to figure out how to get Turkey on side. I believe that's the main goal of her visit. That's why she's going to be in Greece and Cyprus. Whenever Victoria Nuland travels somewhere, you can be dead sure that chaos is going to follow. I mean, she is like the angel of death. And the fact that she's coming to Greece and Cyprus and Turkey, and she's going to be in France, means that we're going to get more escalation. Much more escalation. I believe the main purpose of this trip is obviously to shore up support in Europe, or at least to keep the support and the pressure going in Europe, even though people in the EU are going to get a lot poorer, and they're going to suffer a lot. For Victoria Nuland, it doesn't matter. For her, quoting Madeleine Albright, someone that she probably admires, it's worth it. Remember when Albright said that about the 500,000 Iraqi children that died from sanctions and starvation? It's worth it. For Victoria Nuland, every day, citizens of the European Union having to suffer and to get a lot poorer and to go through a lot more hardship is worth it. If she can complete her dream, her obsession, her fetish with regime change in Russia. And evil is about to descend in Greece, where I am right now, so I'm preparing for that, for the dark clouds. We've got a sunny day, but I'm sure the dark clouds will follow. Why is she coming to Greece and Cyprus and Turkey? I think she's going to try to figure out a way to get Turkey on side, to get Turkey to sanction Russia, to close their airspace to Russia, and to get them to turn away from what has been, to date, I would say, a very neutral stance, given Turkey's position as a NATO member, as one of the most important NATO members, if not the most important. They've managed to stay very neutral, and I'm sure that Victoria Nuland is coming to change that. Maybe she's going to try to offer some carrots to Greece and Cyprus and Turkey, maybe in the form of the Cyprus problem, maybe in the form of the islands, which are Greek islands, but Turkey continuously says they may lay claim to those. Who knows? Victoria Nuland doesn't usually work with carrots, so she may be bringing some sticks. Maybe she's going to threaten Turkey. That wouldn't surprise me. She was in Moscow and she threatened the Russians, so I wouldn't be surprised if she travels to Turkey. I don't know if she's going to be in Istanbul or Ankara, but it wouldn't surprise me if she actually got a meeting with Erdogan and threatened Erdogan and said, if you don't do this, then we're going to do that. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's going to Cyprus to check up on the money operation, given the fact that Burisma, Kolomoisky, all these companies and all these people were actually headquartered in Cyprus. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what she's up to? Anyway, it's not good. Whatever she's up to, it's not going to be good. So expect a very bumpy week, a week of escalation. Oh boy. There's this story about, I don't know if you guys saw the tweet of the top Ukraine negotiator in Turkey after the negotiations that took place between Russia and Ukraine. That top negotiator went for a drink at a bar with the CEO of the drone company. What's the name of that drone company? Bayraktar. And I think the guy's name is Badikar. The Ukraine's top negotiator had a drink with the CEO of the company that is making those drones that are being used by Ukraine in the conflict. I wonder what that's about. I wonder what that was about. There's a tweet there. I'll put the tweet up so everyone can see it. That was a interesting meeting. I'm sure they were talking about maybe future purchases, maybe how to get more Turkish drones into the conflict and more Turkish weapons, given the fact that Nuland's going to be in Turkey and she's going to work on getting Turkey against Russia. We'll see. We will see. What other news do I have? Okay, two more news topics. One will be, I don't know if the last news topic will be a clown world. It won't really be a clown world, but it'll be an interesting news topic. The first topic I want to get to as I close out this video is that Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, said that the gas for ruble scheme will be carried over to other commodities and other goods. So as we were talking about and predicted, all of us who are watching this video and in the comment section, the gas for rubles will carry over to oil, to wheat, to fertilizer, to metals, to everything. So that was predicted, but now we have confirmation coming from the Kremlin itself. And the final story, not clown world, but let's file it under clown world. Why not? It has to do with the gas for rubles. So we have the confirmation that 2 countries will not be paying gas for rubles, and 1 country has come out with the announcement that it will. So we have concrete confirmation of that. The 2 countries that will not be buying Russian gas for rubles and said they're completely free of Russian energy is Lithuania and the United Kingdom. I don't think that's a surprise that those countries are not going to take part in the gas for ruble scheme. The UK has placed the toughest sanctions on Russian energy. They've even sanctioned Gazprom Bank. So even if they wanted to get gas from Russia or any energy or commodity from Russia, the fact that they've sanctioned Gazprom Bank means nothing can go through anyway, since that's where the money has to be deposited. And Lithuania, well, Lithuania isn't a very big country, number 1, but number 2, they've been diversifying. They're pretty much already diversified out of Russian gas, and they fulfill their gas needs through, I believe they have an LNG terminal in the area, and then they share the gas with Poland. They get gas from Poland and other neighbors. But I mean, it's a tiny country that doesn't really have a big dependence on the Russian gas to begin with. So that's the story with the 2 countries that are not going to get the Russian gas. And the final country that will buy gas for rubles is Slovakia, across the street here. Slovakia has come out with the announcement saying, yes, we are going to pay rubles for gas. Period. No way around it. So, not exactly a clown world story, but maybe it is, given to the state of things, to where we've come to, where we're now looking at which countries are going to freeze and which ones are not, which countries don't want to pay rubles for the Russian gas and which ones will have to. Anyway, that's the final update, I think, for the day. We'll see. I think this will be the final one. Duran.locals.com. Take care, everybody.